everybody. Welcome back to Healing is Sexy. My name is Karina Levine. I am a therapist and the host of this show. My guest today is Lena, and I will let her introduce herself and tell a little bit about herself before we get started.
So my name is Lena, and I was born in Ukraine, came to United States about 15 years ago.
Okay.
I am a single mom. I have 2 wonderful kids, and I'm also studying to be a psychologist.
Okay.
And besides that, I'm studying all different modalities that I think might help me with my psychology practice. Because technically, I have to say psychology is just for the diploma.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel that, many more modalities that I'm already learning covering everything that I'm learning in psychology, but I still need that security, that validation that I have my diploma of psychology. And one of the modalities that I've learned is theta healing,
Okay.
which I feel that is the most comprehensive out of all of them. I tried NLP, I tried other like aromatherapy and different type of modalities, but theta healing seems to be covering pretty much everything, every aspect. So I think it would be a good addition to my therapy sessions. I always had a passion and I think talent of healing people. Was doing it one way or the other since I was born. My grandmother was actually a healer too. She was working back in the Ukraine.
Okay.
She was working with plants, and that's where I got from.
Okay.
But I was really always interested in the human and how we function, especially in the human brain.
Okay, so we'll get into data healing a little bit later in the show, but I want to go over your background a little bit. So you are an immigrant from the Ukraine, and I want to know about that journey and what it was like for you with the cultural differences being an immigrant coming from the Ukraine to the U.S.
Yes, it was difficult. It took me a while to adjust to an American lifestyle, but I can tell you right now that it's definitely better here for self-development and self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And it's better to be a woman in America than a woman in Ukraine. Although everybody thinks that women in Ukraine are beautiful and successful, but really we are very restricted in what we can and cannot do.
Okay.
It's still very much a patriarchal society, and it's harder to really blossom as a woman in Ukraine. So when I was growing up, I always liked to help people. I always felt like I have a talent and I have a passion for healing. And my grandmother was a herbalist. She was a healer herself. And my paternal grandmother, she practically raised me and she taught me a lot of things. But because we were in Soviet Union at the time, all kinds of, religion and everything that is not mainstream was prosecuted, to the point that it was prosecuted. So it was really undercover and people were not really officially talking about it. Wow. But she was really gifted with herbs, and she was treating all of us at home and herself. She had diabetes and she pretty much survived without medicine on just herbs.
Wow, okay.
So it was an interesting experience. And I started with that. And I was always very intuitive. I was always very empathic, so I could feel other people's emotions. I could feel other people's pain. It actually was hurting me most of the time because I didn't know what to do with it. Yeah. And I would come home from school exhausted, not understanding what it is. Just several years ago when I actually learned that there is such a thing as energy and that we all interact and we all connected through energy. Yeah. I was shocked and I was like, oh my God, where was this when I was a kid? It was so helpful. So now I'm teaching my kids how to utilize this tool, especially my daughter, because it is easier for girls. We are way more sensitive to the energetic influences of other people. So that's why it's very important to learn to protect yourself, first of all, and conserve that energy within yourself so you can function very nicely and you can share with other people. You can actually share good energy and help others when you're functioning well. It's like, they say on the plane, you put the mask on yourself first and then you help others. This is exactly the case. So I was growing up in Ukraine, and I met my husband, my ex-husband there. And it's an interesting how I see it here as well, that the way that society and the family influences you, especially with girls, how you're supposed to act a certain way. I mean, with boys too, how you're supposed to behave, what you're supposed to be doing. And in my family, it's
Would you
like
say that's the same in the Ukraine as it is in the U.S. in terms of
not
gender
as
roles?
severe
Okay.
anymore.
In the Ukraine?
No, not as severe in the
In the
United
United
States,
States.
but
Okay,
in
so
Ukraine, it's still very much gender segregation.
okay.
And the girl is supposed to, you have to marry, you have to have kids. It's like,
Yeah.
I was 21 and everybody around me like, oh my God, you're going to be an old maid. Oh my God, when are you going to get married?
Oh,
Look, all your
wow.
friends already married with kids. And I'm like, I'm
And
just
you're only
21.
21. Yeah.
I'm still in school. So
Yeah.
so my main goal, it was like a program that I was functioning on. I have to
Okay.
find a husband. The husband has to be this, this, and this. So when I met my ex-husband, he was perfect on paper. He was
Okay.
like handsome, intelligent, very wealthy businessman, like a foreigner. He would teach me. Now I was looking up to him. Everything that my parents and my family and my friends expected me to have, he was a representation of.
Yeah.
But nobody really taught me that the person needs to be loving and caring, and he has to be able to be kind, and he has
Yeah.
to be able to take care of myself, of me, and love me. Nobody really put those on the list for me. So
Like
of course he turned out to be
empathy and communication
exactly
and
the
passion
communication
and support, all the things you want. Okay.
yes, all the things that I want, that I know I want now.
Yeah.
I did not know that I want that before.
Mhm.
It's almost like I was living by somebody's scenario.
Okay.
Somebody wrote a screenplay for me, and I was following that screenplay,
Yeah.
playing the role of a good wife. That I thought I'm a good wife. I had this interesting exercise when I was already here. I'm doing, I don't remember which workshop I was doing, that they ask you, write down who you are. And everybody's told that I'm a daughter, I'm a mother, but then like, no, that's not who you are. Who are you? And I
Yeah.
sat down and I'm like, who am I? I have no idea.
It's labels. You
It's
feel like you need to label
exactly.
everything rather than put forth the qualities that you have to offer.
Exactly. So those conditions, like we are conditioned to to do a certain task that are applied to this role. It's like somebody's writing a scenario for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was living by somebody else's scenario.
Yeah.
But at some point, I physically was unable to tolerate that anymore because my ex-husband, he was narcissistic. He had
Okay.
an anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
He needed to have a set of things around him. He was not really worried about me or what I need. He just wanted to be satisfied.
He
So
needed
he
his
needed
constant
Huska.
reassurance without being
Exactly,
able to give back.
exactly. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying, again, it's not, he might be fine for another person.
Yeah.
He was just not right for me.
Yeah.
And I allowed him to be abusive, like mentally abusive with me, because that's how he functioned and that's how I functioned with him.
Yeah.
So at some point, I got so depressed that I felt physically ill. I mean, it was like, 10 years after we got married.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what's going on. I was going to the doctors, a doctor after doctor. They like, you're fine. I'm like, I cannot get up. My muscles don't work.
Yeah.
So I was convinced that I have like MS or ALS or any of those because I
Wow.
physically could not perform. I was sleeping all day. I couldn't
Okay.
walk. My legs would not listen to me.
Would you say you were in a state of depression that was just debilitating
That was
you?
a psychosomatic,
Yeah.
like I wanted to escape. I wanted
Yeah.
to remove myself from this
Yeah.
situation, and I did not know how.
Okay.
And at that point, my friend took me to it was some sort of psychic school, and they were doing these women's workshops. And she just dragged me there. Like literally, she put me in the car. She's like, "We're going." Because my friend, who's a very respected person, she goes there. It means it's okay. Because I was like, "Oh my God, this is some witchcraft. Please don't take me anywhere." Like, and she's like, "No, no, no, we're going." And they did something energetically. They influenced me energetically somehow that influenced him. I mean, they said that they putting a shield on me and they removing him from me. And I came home and he was having heart attack symptoms
Yeah.
because he felt that disconnection probably energetically. So that's the first time I learned about energy and how it affects us
So you
in
really
different
built
way.
that energy block and blocked out the
Exactly.
negativity, and he really felt that.
He really felt it. It wasn't
Okay.
me. It was the people who were doing whatever the procedure
Yeah.
they were doing, but they did something that they really removed him, like energetically removed him, and he was, because he was attached and I was his source of energy, and he
Yeah.
was drinking energy out of me, and when the source removed, you don't really know what to do.
Yeah.
So we spent 24 hours in ER, but they proved that he's okay. He was
not
just,
having a
he was
heart
not having a
attack.
heart attack. Yes,
He just
but that
couldn't
was an
feed off of
interesting.
you anymore in the same way.
Exactly. And after that, I started really reevaluating and trying to think what I need and what I want, because I felt better immediately also.
Okay.
Like I felt better.
Wow.
And so 3 months later, I moved out. 6 months later, I filed for divorce, and it was just quick. It was a quick
Okay.
decision. So for 13 years, I was stuck in a situation, not knowing what needed to be done.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I started looking into things like that, because mainstream apparently didn't work. So I needed to find something that wasn't mainstream. But still, I was still very weak, and I still, be, our beliefs in that scenario that we read, it's instilled in us from zero.
Yeah.
From 0 to 5.
Yeah.
That's the basic. I mean, you as a therapist, you as a psychologist
Yeah.
know that this is the core belief age, plus the genetically, whatever you bring from up to fourth generation. Again, it's proven now by the scientists that you carry the genetic code from everything in emotional and physical, what happened to your relatives, you can relive in your life without even knowing like what the heck is happening.
Thank you for sharing. We will definitely continue this when we get back from our commercial break. Welcome back to Healing is Sexy. We are here with Lena, and she is giving us a little bit of background of what it was like to grow up in the Ukraine and what her immigration process to the U.S. was like. So we're talking a little bit about how women in the Ukraine are expected to live up to society standards and the standards that your parents set for you, so you never really got to follow your own dream. So you were talking a little bit about your husband and how you ended up marrying someone that was perfect on paper but not necessarily perfect for you. And we haven't gotten into the career aspect yet, so I'll let you take off from where we left off.
So I got married and I had kids right away, and I never worked once in my life for the degree that I obtained in Ukraine. It was a degree of management of foreign relations, which means I was an economist. I had to I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, we learn a whole bunch of stuff that absolutely necessary in real life. But again, this was a degree that my parents pushed me into because I was good at math. It had nothing to do with me or what I want to be doing with my life.
Yeah.
I was always, actually, I meant to be a psychologist because I could talk to people, I could listen, and I could understand. A lot of my friends would come to me for advice. I would be like trying to figure out their issues and fixing their issues. But for some reason, I never really even considered that to be my career, because it was just something that would not bring, it was not a popular career in Ukraine. And even here, when I came here, my husband's like, oh my God, you have to study for so long and you cannot really make so much money, and every second person is a therapist. He was really discouraging. And that's the other thing that I didn't mention about my ex-husband, that he was not, and again, he is a good person. I have nothing against him, but we didn't work very well together, because I was conditioned a certain way to please my husband and play a role of wife that my mother used to play and my grandmother used to play, and was genetically passed on to me. And I thought that this is how the wife's supposed to behave. I never really thought that, what about what I want? And so many times I was trying to go to school, and he would try to put me down because he didn't really want me to overgrow him. He didn't want to grow, and he didn't want me to overgrow him. He was trying to keep me down low, because he was narcissistic, and he was self-involved, and he had a lot of anxiety disorder and a lot of fear. So he was afraid that if I'm gonna go to college and I get a little bit more confident, I will leave him, which pretty much exactly what happened. So he was right.
Projected his anxiety onto you.
Exactly. He projected anxiety. He instilled all the fears that he could instill in me. And I was I didn't even think it was possible, especially when I have little kids, and I have to work. I didn't think it was possible. But as soon as I got out of his involvement, I was able to go right to school, and I was able to start studying. But a little bit about the involvement and how other people influence us. Energetically, it's very easy to get under somebody's spell who is a little bit more stronger than you are. And as women, we tend to share our energy more than we take from other people, because men usually take the energy. They're dominant, they're stronger, and they come in and they take our energy. And for women, it's easier to share and harder to accept in everything, pretty much. For me, it's really hard to accept anything. I sharing, oh my God, please come take whatever, but to accept is really hard. And I noticed that
naturally more empathetic, and what you're talking about is, you know, the same exchange of energy is the same exchange of empathy. So people who are empathetic take in a lot of negative energy from everybody around them, but then we burn out ourselves and don't have the positive energy to give back if we keep taking in all that negative energy and don't regulate it the correct way.
Exactly. The key is to stay balanced. And it's very hard to stay balanced when you have somebody who's a dominant and takes your energy constantly, and you feel depleted because you don't really know how to replenish it. And that's exactly the situation that I was in. My husband was really dominant. He was like an energetic vampire who was getting on his energy by taking mine, usually through the argument or through the putting me down exercise, as I call. Like, he would come and he would find something that would be vulnerable about, and he would start in reinforcing that, some sort of fears, some sort of anxiety, that I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, and stuff like that. And it got so hard that at some point my body couldn't handle it. I was very depressed. It got to the point that I thought that I'm deathly ill because my muscles wouldn't move. I would be sleeping all day. I was going to the doctors and they would be telling me, checking everything. I did a mammogram and encephalogram or whatever else gram that I could do, and they couldn't find anything, and yet I couldn't function. So they're like, okay, you're depressed, you have fibromyalgia.
Yeah, your depression was showing up psychosomatically through your body, and you were unable to.
Exactly. And I had no idea what's going on. I really thought that I have some sort of mystical disease and I'm soon gonna die. Like, I was sitting there crying all day because thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna leave my kids. What am I gonna do? And that wasn't until my friend took me into this gathering. It was like a psychic meditation healing center, and she took me in. They were doing women's healing clinic, and they did something energetically on me. And they, first of all, they explained what energy is, because I had no idea before that something like that exists. I don't know what this is. They explained what energy is, because I had no idea what it is and that something like this exists. And then they did a protection. They put a protection on me and some sort of removal of the cord that my husband had to me. And it was, when I arrived home, he has this strong anxiety. He didn't know what was happening to him, but energetically something was happening to him, to the point that he thought that he's having a heart attack.
So they built a shield around you, so he was no longer able to suck your energy.
Exactly.
And he felt that, and it was anxiety provoking.
Exactly.
That's really
exactly.
interesting.
He couldn't understand what was going on, and he thought that that's probably a heart attack.
Wow.
So we spent like 24 hours in the ER just to prove that it's not a heart attack. But
it's amazing that both of you had such strong physical reactions to your emotions.
Yeah, this is usually what happens. Many emotion, and people don't realize it, many emotion provokes physical reactions.
Yes. Yeah.
And psychosomatically, you can make yourself sick. You can be sick because you're emotional, because there is an emotional pain inflicted on you. You can become physically sick. And a lot of fear, a lot of anger creates many cancers, or neurological diseases, or diseases that are or chronic diseases.
I'm not sure if you've ever read the book You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
I did.
Okay.
I love it.
So that's exactly what she talks about in that book, is how a lot of your actions and your emotions can affect different part of your body and cause different diseases. So if you have not, you guys should read You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. Unfortunately, she passed away. There's a documentary DVD about it too. Unfortunately, she passed away, I think recently. I want to say last year. But it's a very interesting read about mind-body connectivity.
Yes, I have. That book is on my table
Yes.
because if something hurts, I go in and I figure out, and usually it's a spot on
Yeah.
explanation that needs to be removed. So that's what data healing partially does as well.
Okay.
We touch on the emotions and we touch on the blocks and everything that is negative stored in your body, and we remove that.
We will be taking a quick commercial break and we will be right back. Hello again. Welcome back to Healing is Sexy. We just left off talking a little bit about we were talking about body mind connectivity, and we'll get a little bit more into that and data healing. But I want you to finish talking about your story and what happened once you decided to get the power to leave your husband.
When I broke free, I started to look inside and trying to figure out, so, okay, let's see what we like and what we don't like. When I wake up in the morning, do I want to go to the bathroom, or something else is telling me that I have to? Do I want to have breakfast, and what I want to have? So I would examine every little thing. And at that point, she just appeared. Again, was the meditation. We went to the same meditation group, and she was doing meditation as well.
Okay.
And for some reason, it just clicked. We clicked, and before that, it was funny because just a few months prior, we were having this conversation, and my ex-husband asked me, he's like, well, would you ever be with the woman? And I was like, no, no way.
That's so
No
interesting.
way. I was so, like, my whole body was repelling against it. And all of a sudden, it was like, oh my God, this is what I need. And it felt so natural.
Wow.
I was so amazed. I'm like, this is not at all what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
It just felt like at that point I realized that for me, it doesn't matter the physical appearance. It doesn't matter the gender.
Yeah.
What matters is just the personality, the soul of the person.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter for me if it's a gender or no gender, transgender, a woman or man. For right now, it just matter how we physically and mentally clicking. Of course, everybody around me thought that, oh my God, she went crazy. And my mom still doesn't accept. My dad still doesn't know. My mom still does not accept it. She
Yeah.
keeps blaming it on the antidepressants and that they just made me crazy and this is all temporary.
What do you think got you from the point of being completely turned off at the idea of dating a woman to being willing to date a woman?
I think when I was doing this energetic influence, they removed a lot of blocks from me.
Okay.
And it opened me up. And I realized that the soul really doesn't have a gender.
Yeah.
So for me, it doesn't matter what what physically is represented. I am going for the soul. I'm going for the chemistry. I'm going for that energetic connection.
Yeah.
So for me, it doesn't matter if it's now, because everybody is asking me, so what do you prefer, a man or a woman? And I'm like, I don't care. It could be
Yeah.
a man, a woman, a transgender, whatever, as long as it's like legal age
Yeah.
person.
As long as they're adult.
They're adult, yes.
Yeah.
And somebody who I can vibe with, who I can connect energetically. This is what's important to me.
So you basically learned that the emotional connection and connecting with the soul and somebody's energy is so much more important than the sexuality factor or even
Exactly.
sex at all.
But when you actually connect with the person on an energetic level, the
Yeah.
sex level goes up as well.
Yeah.
Because sex is just an extension of your inner desires.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women in particular have sex in their head first.
Yeah.
And you really have to you have an orgasm in your head before
Yeah.
you have an orgasm in your body.
Yeah, and it's easy to, grow a sexual connection and learn each other's bodies and figure out what's correct for each other sexually.
Exactly.
But trying to structure an emotional connection is something that's not, it's not doable a lot of the time. You can't control your emotions and your passion and how you feel about somebody.
Exactly. It's something that you cannot teach.
Yeah.
You either have it or not have it.
Yes.
You either have that connection or not. And it was an amazing connection. I mean, she was an amazing woman, and she gave me that nurture that I didn't even receive from my parents.
Yeah.
She showed me what it is, how it feels like to be truly loved.
To have someone give back to you
give
for once.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it was really hard for me to accept at first.
Yeah.
Because as a woman, I am taught, I'm conditioned to give more than receive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's harder to learn how to receive and how to receive
Yeah.
properly. Even now, when somebody tells me, "Oh my God, you had 2 kids and you look so good. You have such an amazing body," and I get all shy and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is just my genetics. I'm just so lucky. I don't do anything for it." And then they're like, "Just say thank you. That's
Yeah.
all you need to do." But it's
It's
really
so
hard for
hard.
many women
Yeah.
to accept that they are worth something. It's
Yeah.
always, "You're not enough. You have to be better. You have to be prettier. You have to do. Your nails should be longer. Your skin should be cleaner. And you should have no gray hair or no wrinkles. This is all
Yeah.
something that we should have."
And when you're so attached and conditioned to give and give and give and aren't used to receiving, it's a very uncomfortable new feeling to accept that positive energy into your life, because
Exactly.
it's just a total shift balance of like, it's kind of like, what is going on here? Like, there's people out there that can appreciate me and give to me instead of
Yeah.
sucking everything away.
It's you really have to learn that. You
Yeah.
really have to get over all your blocks and restrictions and learn it. And that's what she was doing for me. Slowly and slowly, she was teaching me how to receive. She was teaching me
Yeah.
how you have to feel when you loved, when somebody cares about you. How do you have to delegate your responsibility, and it's okay to let go, and it's okay to let somebody else do something for you.
Yeah.
You know, like when she would be massaging my feet, I would feel like I need to massage hers, and she's like, "No, I'm just doing it for you now. Relax. This is for you.
Yeah.
Take it and stop trying to reciprocate." It was hard, but I've learned it, and now this is my level, and I know that I will never go lower than this level,
Yeah.
because this is where I want to be. This is that would be the person that I would want to be with.
Well, it's really amazing that you had that experience and were willing to open yourself up to try something new and receive a new kind of love that you didn't think could exist before.
Exactly. And she was the one who was encouraging me to actually explore my metaphysical abilities and
Okay.
my energetic abilities and everything that is not just the mainstream science. Because my parents were teachers, and
Okay.
I realized recently that I was conditioned that anything that is not science is wrong, or it's like stupid, or it's
Yeah.
not important. And if you promote anything that is not scientific, you wrong and you stupid.
Okay.
Which is, again, it's a block that thankfully I was able to remove.
Yeah.
And now I realize that science already is really slowly but surely catching up with everything.
Yeah.
We already know that everything is energy. I mean, Albert Einstein, like 100 years ago, he already proved that everything is energy and we're all connected, and
Yep.
molecules and atoms and
Molecules,
particles
yep.
are all one and all comes from the same place. So it's
Yeah.
borrowed from generation to generation.
Exactly.
And now recently I was doing research for my school, and I came across the articles that 2 universities simultaneously were doing an experiment and proved, one in Israel and one in Australia, that reality it doesn't exist until it's observed.
Yeah. So that's something that I thought was interesting, because it's the same in reality, and that's why if 2 people observe the exact same situation and you put them in separate rooms after, they're going to tell slightly different versions of the stories, because what they saw, what they perceived were different situations. Even though it's the exact same reality, the way we perceive something is completely different than the next person next to us might. So they might have noticed details that you might notice details in a situation that I might, or vice versa. So the concept of reality is interesting because it is different for all of us.
Exactly. And the observe, it means, it doesn't mean just to see, it means to use all your senses. So, like, who say that the smell of lavender would be smelling the same for you than for me?
Yeah.
And again, it because we need to see, we need to observe our reality, it means we're creating our reality. So something was already, like, whenever we are right now, me and you in those chairs, we already saw it somehow before.
Yeah.
We observed it, and now this is happening. Like, somebody invented the chair. Before it was a chair,
Yeah.
it was in somebody's head. It was just a thought, and then put it on paper, and then they created a chair. The same was,
no
iPhone,
idea
iPad,
is a new
telephone.
idea.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
So that makes so much sense to me, because if you think about it, everything material that exists now was, before that, it was just somebody's imagination.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything. I mean, when it was the Stone Age, it was nothing. It was just naked people running around.
So, in that relationship where she taught you to become more metaphysical and start learning about different types of healing, what was that process like for you?
It was, again, it was hard at first because for me, it was something that is prohibited and something that people laugh at, and I care very much. I guess it's also have still that people will judge me and people will look at me wrong, and nobody cares what I have to say and stuff like that. But she was this amazing woman. I mean, fascinating. She was a lawyer, this hardcore lawyer from New York.
Okay.
And yet she had that side because she also studied some sort of modalities. I don't remember what they were, like polarity. And she was really open to energies. And we went to do some meditation classes together, and we went to do some mediumship classes together. So she was this interesting combination of like hardcore normal person working for City of LA, and then this whole new person behind the scenes that are very open for all the metaphysical stuff. So we would explore that. So she encouraged me to explore. She noticed, she's like, you have some stuff. You know how to do this. Why don't you go check? And I'm like, no, because it's a witchcraft. I'm going to get punished. No, I don't want to do that. But she gently encouraged me, and that's how I really started to open up. So she was dragging me to all those workshops and everything. And we actually came across theta healing at some point. But I went online, I looked it up, and the woman who created it didn't really look very good to me, and I'm like, nah, this is silly, this is stupid, I'll never, no. I dismissed it. But then I stumbled up, like actually fell into it during this dark time in my life. So when this person who was this incredible person got taken away from me very tragically, and it was
Your girlfriend?
my girlfriend, yeah.
Okay.
So she tragically died in a boating accident. And that was just the darkest time in my life I experienced. It was terrible. I mean, my life stopped. I couldn't function. My pain was so severe that on many occasions I was just like driving and daydreaming. Let me just like drive into the wall for it to stop, because I could, like, the physical pain. I never knew, and it's like they always say that you really have to experience something to really know how it feels. And I was always empathic. I would always, like, whoever died, and I could feel it, and I would really feel for people and be sympathetic, but it's not the same when you experience. And at first I was like, why me? What did I do? Like, why do I need to experience this? But then when you come out of the mindset of like why this is happening to me and go to like, well, what good can come from it, this is the power. So not a lot of people, so some people just go down deep dark, gone, and some people go into that, let's make lemons out of lemonade.
And I think that's really important that you said that, because most people do fall into that victimized mentality of why me, just like you said, and it's really important to try to think of things in ways, as you mentioned, like, what lesson can this teach me? How can I grow from this? What can I learn from this? So
it's when you get into that mindset of the so you change it from the victim mindset to the creator mindset, and then your brain starts working. If you get into this, okay, so what can we make, like, how can this serve us? And the brain starts working into looking for the opportunities to figure out how this actually can serve you, and it like looking and starts attracting certain people, certain things into your life, that certain serendipities and other things come in that you don't even know existed, and you don't even know that you needed them. But it's like a 360 turnaround. So I was in that state of like, why me? And I was crippled. I was literally crippled, but again, I have 2 kids, so I had to do something about it. And first I went mainstream. I went to the therapy, to the grief groups, to the, I don't know, some meditations. I did Reiki, I did acupuncture, I went to the medium, I went to the psychic. It was so embarrassing. I went to the psychic and she totally ripped me off. Like, I paid her $600 per session. And she's like, I'm going to help you. And it was total bullshit. It didn't work at all. And then, I even wanted to recall this money, but then I'm like, okay, this was my choice. I did it. I made it happen. But
Yeah.
that's something that was really embarrassing. But at that state, you just want
You wanna try
anything. You
anything.
want to try
Yeah.
anything, but
Yeah.
nothing worked. It would be
Okay.
like literally trigger, and I would go back into that deep depression, and it would be months.
Okay.
And I needed to get up in the morning, and I would pull myself out. I was on medication, and it didn't really work. And then I remember, like, somehow, I don't remember how, I remember of Data. And I'm like, okay, this is the only thing that I didn't try. Let me try it. And I found this woman in Long Beach that was doing it, and went in, and I was shocked. The first time I went, one session, I came out, and I don't remember what she was doing. I just remember I was crying through the whole session, and I came out, it felt like this boulder was like lifted out of my chest.
Okay.
And I started breathing again, because before it would be like shallow breathing, and now I couldn't
Yeah.
breathe.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there in the car, I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? I need to figure out how she did it. I need to
Yeah.
know, because it worked.
Well, I want to thank you very much for sharing your story with us. And we're going to head to a commercial break. And when we get back, we will talk about what has helped you heal and what did help you move forward. Welcome back to Healing is Sexy. We are here with Lena, and she has been telling us her story about her past and her immigration from the Ukraine to the US and a lot of the difficult situations she went through that led her to the path of wanting to learn more about the self and energy and how to heal. So I'm going to send it back to her so she can tell us a little bit about what exactly she does therapy wise.
So, as we talked already, I had this traumatic event happen in my life. The love of my life had died tragically, and I was struggling through the depression and through not willingness to live, but had to persevere for my kids and try different modalities, but nothing really worked until I somehow remembered of data healing. I don't know. I think it's popped up somewhere, commercial. I don't know. And I decided to give it a try because I already tried everything that I knew, and this was
Yeah.
something that maybe helps.
So, what is exactly data healing?
So when I went to this woman, to the healer, I was amazed by the results. I
Okay.
came in and I didn't know what she was doing. She just sat in there and put me into the data state, and I cried through the whole session, came out, and it felt like this boulder was lifted off my chest. I couldn't believe it because I could breathe again. And it proved that it actually worked and the results stayed. So I kept coming back, and I was determined to figure out what this is and how it to work.
Yeah.
And after just a few months, it felt like I was propelled from this bottomless pit of depression and desperation to some sort of incredible level of self-development that I was working on to get there for so many years, but it never reached it. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden, just over a few months, I was able to actually understand myself. I was actually able to hear my soul and what it was telling me, and I was connected somehow to this universal intelligence and understood how I can heal myself and how to help others. So theta healing, it's basically a conversation with yourself. Theta healing, it's pretty much a conversation with yourself, your soul, your subconscious, and your soul already knows all the answers because we are connected through this universal pool of information, and our soul is so intelligent, it already know what we need.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because one of the things in therapy that people get frustrated with is that they expect therapists to provide them with all the answers. But the thing about therapy is it's our job to help you find the answers from within you, to help
Exactly.
yourself heal, because I can't know the answer of what's deep in your soul and what's best for you. So it sounds like it's similar in terms of process of finding what's within already and finding the
Exactly.
solution for yourself.
Yes, you just have to be able to connect to that universal pool and pull in the information and let your brain process the information. But
Yeah.
for that, we need to slow down our brain to that the slowest waves, like not the slowest, but almost the slowest, the theta wave.
Okay.
And it's when you into that theta state, your brain vibrates very slowly between 4 to 7 hertz per second. It's
Okay.
a very slow vibration, but yet you're not completely asleep.
So theta is actually a stage in the brain.
It's just, yes. So we
Okay.
have a 5 wave states
Okay.
that we go through. It's alpha, beta, theta, delta, and gamma.
Okay.
So gamma is like the most, very few people can get there. Like when you're on speed or take some drugs, you get into the gamma state
Okay.
that your mind is like sharp and you know exactly
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
happening. Alpha is we are in this state right now. It's when we are communicating active. And then beta when you're focusing on something really deeply, like you doing mathematical formulas and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then the theta is when you in this hypnotic state. You're not asleep, and yet you're almost asleep. It's a
wow.
creative state. That's where you
Okay.
create all. It's like daydreaming. It comes. You all creative ideas. You know, when you're in the shower, you also into the theta in the theta
Okay.
state. That's a great. All great ideas come in the shower.
Yeah.
And when you fall asleep, it's already the delta state when you're completely sleeping.
Interesting. I like it.
Yeah. So when you in this hypnotic meditational theta state, your brain slows down and your subconscious takes over.
Okay.
So you are able to pull out all those blocks, negative feelings, some anger that you store, some negative emotions that were stored in you, and release them. It's not new. Hypnotherapists have been doing it for hundreds of years
Yeah.
now. But the difference between theta and the hypnotherapy, that with hypnotherapy you rely on the therapist to guide you through, to give you tools.
Yeah.
But when you're doing theta healing, your healer is simply a witness
Okay.
to your connection and your healing.
Yeah.
So you healing yourself, and we just need to witness. Because there was another experiment that, I don't know if you know that experiment, that when you're witnessing an energetic particles, they behave differently.
No, I have not.
Yeah, it's like
heard
a
of that.
quantum
But
experience.
I'm one of the therapists that's stuck in the science zone still.
Well, but that's science. That's quantum physics.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I haven't gotten too much into the
So
energy
they were
aspect.
they changed their behavior.
Okay.
So they behave accordingly to what you see. So when you as a witness witnessing the energetic influence coming from the above,
Yeah.
you are actually witnessing the healing that the person doing it on themselves.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that's where the metaphysical part of theta comes in. That it's
Okay.
not quite scientific, even though hypnotherapy, I guess, probably not so scientific also, but because it involves the God or this universal energy or creator or whatever you want to call it, not a lot of people would like to get involved with it.
Yeah.
This is
so we
something
discussed
new.
that a little bit earlier because you did say it involves like a God or a higher power, and there are a lot of people out there that don't believe in God or a higher power. So how does this work for people who do not have a religious affiliation?
Well, I usually suggest just to try it and
Okay.
see how it works, if not works for them. But most of the people, there are people that are agnostics and they believe that after you die, nothing exists and we don't have a God or we don't have anything higher power. We are the power,
Yeah.
which in a sense we are, because we make all the decisions. Because we're connected, we are this energy.
Yeah, so a lot of people who don't have a religious affiliation will believe in more of a universal power.
Universal
like
power,
the
universal
universe.
intelligence.
I believe in the universe.
Which it's the same.
Okay.
It's the energy that created whatever is existing.
Okay.
The creator of all there is.
Okay. So
And-
it will work if you're not a religious.
Absolutely. I mean, it will work regardless.
Yes.
It's just if you want to believe in it or not.
Just to have some
Just to have some connectivity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Exact. So when you get into the state and you connect to that universal energy, your soul gets information that it needs to work on the issue that needs to be worked on.
Okay.
So there is some therapeutic aspect involved with the process, because I would get in and I would ask the questions. It's like a back and forth conversation to
Okay.
pull out, to get to the bottom belief that is stopping you, preventing you from certain actions, or the bottom belief that is keeping you from being happy, or you have a disease that is based on that bottom belief. So we find the belief and we remove it.
Okay.
So usually it's like when you work with NLP or EFT, that's how it works. You find that block, you find that neural pathway that has been created when you were a child, and you erase it or rewire it into a different direction, so it no longer triggers you. You no longer feel emotional. You still can relieve the memories. You can still probably remember what happened to you, but it doesn't affect you.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, that simplest, you would not know that when you've been molested when you were a kid can affect your skin or can affect your ability to speak in public. It could be absolutely unrelated to something, and yet it would prevent you from doing certain things. Or if you were a small child and you were standing when your mother was talking to your teacher and your teacher said, "Oh, he's just so shy," you automatically believe that, and you act like you're shy. This is your belief, and you no longer can get out of it. You think you're shy, and this is it. Or some girls think they're ugly, or some girls think they're smart but not pretty, and it's a very common,
very serious, like the impact of childhood messages and how they replay in your brain and affect you as an adult. And kind of like me mentioned earlier with the Louise Hay book, those symptoms are not always psychological. They can also manifest physically as well.
They usually manifest physically if you store them and if you not work through them. Most of the diseases are it's a result of our psychological disorders first, or some sort of emotional trauma, or sometimes they benefit us. There's so many cases when people would get sick because they need attention, or people would get sick because they don't know how to deal with certain circumstances and they feel like the sickness might be or they need to they want money from the government, and the sickness would prevent them. If they would get better, it would prevent them from having certain things. So in those cases, sometimes it's difficult to remove the disease, because unless we figure out how it's certain and they're ready to let go. Because sometimes when we figure out that this is, well, I have this disease, but it's serving me, and people decide not to let go. They decide, okay, just make it a little less bad, but keep it, because if I'm sick, my husband's going to take care of me, and I don't want him to go. But if I get better, he might leave.
It's like people who go have cancer and decide if they want to go through chemotherapy or not.
Exactly. So they decided that they want to get better, or they just want to be a little bit better.
All right. Well, on that note, we will go to a quick commercial break again, and then we will be right back and talk about the Theta healing process. Welcome back to Healing is Sexy. So we have been talking about Theta healing and how to heal in a different type of format that's not traditional psychotherapy. We did a little mini Theta session earlier, and I realized it's a lot of guided imagery, which is a technique that we use in therapy, in which the therapist has you imagine yourself in particular circumstances, and it's very good for grounding and coming into the self and self-realization, and that is a technique we use frequently in therapy. There's also a little aromatherapy mixed in there and meditation, so I'll let you expand a little bit more on how you use all those tools in order to put the full package together to be healing.
Yes, well, the Theta healing itself was founded by this woman, Viana Stable. She created this whole process, and now it's a big school, was always developing. It's a developing technique. The aromatherapy was my addition. I figured some clients, it's harder for them to get into the state. And aromatherapy is a very powerful tool to use.
It's amazing. As soon as you put that lavender oil on me, I was just instantly already more calm, because it just has that effect.
It's almost immediate effect. It goes through the nose and it's in the brain right away.
I love aromatherapy.
So I use for the meditation, for this specific meditation, I use the two oils, the one that is grounding and one that would be balanced. It's a very good grounding blend that connects you to the bottom, to the
So
Mother Earth.
I'll show the bottle a little
And
bit
then
more.
I also use frankincense. It's a divine oil that connects you to the higher power. So you
Okay.
have that balanced energy that comes through you. You connect it from the top and you connect it from the bottom, and it enhances the experience.
So it was very much like connecting with the core of the earth and all the way up to the
Yes,
skies.
the sky. So you connect to the core of the earth to stay grounded and like don't float away. It's
Okay.
very important actually, because when I'm ungrounded, I get into a whole bunch of different, like I get into accidents. There's certain negative things happen because you're not controlled, you're not balanced.
Okay.
If you're still just up in the air, you're really like floating away.
Yeah.
So it's very important to stay grounded. Like I actually had an experience. I was ungrounded right after the Theta healing. I forgot to ground and I got into a car accident.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, as soon as I pull out of the garage, I don't even know how that happened because I was so ungrounded and my head was like in
Yeah.
the sky
Yeah.
instead of being connected. So when you connected and grounded, you now can release your body and just concentrate on your soul and your energetic field and connect to that informational source.
Okay.
And pull all the information. But what we can do, I can do a little demonstration where we can simply allow the energy of unconditional love to fill you in, which always makes you feel very good. And we can do even manifestation of maybe something that you really wish right now. We can do that little trick. That's because Theta healing, it's not only a healing modality, it also allows you to get in touch with your intuition.
Okay.
And manifest certain things if you're in the right state and if you're in a state of unconditional love.
Okay.
Which is also a good thing to know, that don't ask for anything, don't wish for anything when you're angry, because that's what you would get, that energetic vibration. When you're angry, that's what you would attract.
Putting out that negative energy.
Yes.
Brings it
So
back.
if you wish, if you create when you're in a state of love, this is the highest vibration that you could possibly be, then it comes back to you with that loving and good energy. So you should remember that.
Yeah, well, you can definitely use me an example, or use me as an example. You can definitely use me as an example, and we can show a little bit about what that looks like, and then maybe we can teach the audience a little meditation that they can do at home afterwards.
Yes, absolutely. So they can follow this guided meditation that I will do and get into that state of Theta and fill themselves with love and heal themselves with love, and also manifest something that they would like to manifest.
So I'm torn in between two, but I feel...
We'll do both. It's very quickly.
I feel I'm more steady on the path of success already than I am steady on the path of love. So I will let you focus on the love aspect.
We can. It's very quick. You can do both very quickly, and that's the beauty also of Theta healing, because it's all quick.
Cool. Let's do love and success, because I need all of the above.
It doesn't have to be success. It could be something that you really like, your heart really desires, just like absolutely in the moment. And again, you don't have to think about it right now. It will come to you when you're in that state of unconditional love. So I'm gonna apply the oils first.
Okay. I will let you put it on top of my mindfulness tattoo.
Beautiful.
Stay mindful. Mindfulness is so important.
We'll put it on the on the pulse dots here.
I need this on me all the time.
Yes. All right. So now you feel grounded, and this one goes on the top of your head, just a drop. That will give you that vibration that you need to connect very well. And now you're going to close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Put your both feet on the ground.
I'm like, should I put...
Yeah, you might want to just put it in.
the microphone?
Take a deep breath. Now imagine the cord extending from the bottom of your spine to the center of the earth, all the way down to the center, and it's grounding you. You feel grounded. Now imagine the vital energy of earth coming up through the bottom of your feet, going higher and higher through your legs, through your knees, through your thighs, reaching the bottom of your spine and making the red disc of your first chakra spin, releasing everything that is not necessary and not serving you anymore, and pushing the energy up to your second chakra, making the orange disc of your second chakra spin, releasing everything that is stuck in there and not necessary, and pushing the energy up to your third sacral chakra, making the yellow disc of your sacral chakra spin, releasing everything that is not necessary and pushing the energy up to your fourth chakra in your chest. This is your heart chakra. It makes the green disc of your heart chakra spin, and then push the energy up to your fifth chakra in your throat, making the blue disc of the fifth chakra spin, releasing everything that is stuck in there and no longer serving you. Pushing the energy up to your sixth chakra behind your eyes, making the blue, deep blue indigo disc spin, pushing the energy up through your seventh chakra on the top of your head, forming a beautiful ball of light. Place yourself inside the ball. Look around, take notice what color it is. Feel how safe and protected you are. And now release the ball. It's a traveling ball. We're going to travel up, 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 higher and higher, past the clouds, past the stars, going higher and higher, past white light and another white light, another white light, and past another white light. Now past golden shimmering light, you're going up higher and higher. Now you reach the jelly-like substance with a lot of shapes and colors. Those are the laws of the universe. Going through that substance, you will leave the ball in there. Come on the other side, you will be greeted by the pink mist. It's the law of compassion. Feel it on your skin. Let it guide you to this beautiful pearlescent white light. It's a clean, bright light. Feel it on your skin like a snow. Feel it penetrating your skin, going in, filling up every cell, every molecule of your body. You're becoming part of all there is. And now we work from the creation. So we would ask, I'm going to be saying, and you remember, you say it in your mind. Creator of all there is, it is requested to let the unconditional love fill my body and every part of my life. Please allow the unconditional love to go in and fill every cell, every molecule of my body, from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, healing and aligning everything. Let that love spread out into every area of my life, healing that area, healing all the areas that need to be healed. Now say thank you, it is done, it is done, it is done. And watch how that beautiful energy, sparkling, shiny energy coming in and filling you up, dancing and swirling around, filling every cell of your body. And now think of something that's your heart desire, something really, really, that you're really passionate about, that's really close to your heart, that you would want to have here and now. And say in your head, Creator of all there is, it is requested for me to have, say whatever you would like to have now. Thank you, it is done, it is done, it is done. And now picture it, imagine it, observe. How will it look like? How would you feel when you have it? How it would feel, how would it fit in your life? Now memorize it. Memorize the feeling of having what you would like to have. And now we're gonna go through the waterfall. Warm water, washing off everything that is no longer serving you and releasing it to the ground. And imagine the cord extending from the bottom of your spine, connecting you to the center of the earth and grounding you. You feel grounded. And now take a deep breath. And whenever you're ready, open your eyes. How do you feel?
So hard to keep my eyes closed with these lights. But they'll edit it.
Well, let's see. Now, during the week, like you will be checking in. So for the next week, just look for the signs, for the synchronicities, for something that comes in your life and that brings you closer to whatever you desired. It should appear.
Well, thank you for doing that meditation. And for everybody watching at home, this is something that you can jot down a few notes on how to do it and definitely practice it yourself. It's interesting because you use a lot of techniques that are very similar to traditional therapy.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of guided imageries to bring people either past or forward in their lives and decide, make decisions through that platform. And then also, I think I mentioned when we were doing it earlier, something that I teach as a relaxation technique is progressive muscle relaxation. So it involves a lot of tensing your muscles from the toes up. That's definitely another technique I encourage you guys to look into. So thank you for sharing that. And I will definitely be doing my sessions with you.
Of course. Well, this was just a little tiny bit and we did it quick. So usually it's a little bit longer, a little bit more extensive. So you really relax. You're really in that state. And yes, I have some other meditations that I do too, and to help you to get into the state and figure out what is bothering you and how it can be removed.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I think it's really important to be connected with your soul and your energy and be aware of how energy does impact you, because although I have learned a lot of science-based modalities, I definitely believe in the transference of energy. Especially in the therapy room, it's really important to acknowledge that therapy between you and your patient, because that energy could really, as we mentioned earlier, bring you down if you're not conscious of what it's doing and how it's affecting you.
Exactly. It is very important for people who are like doctors or therapists to be able to be aware where their energy ends and where the patient's energy begins, so they don't take on the diseases and problems of other people.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your stories and your techniques and helping everybody learn a new, beautiful, sexy way to heal. And we will see you guys next week on Healing is Sexy.